All right, let's start again. My name is Shai. I'm in love. I am totally in love with God, with Spirit, with connectedness, and it's been my life mission for as far as I can remember to know myself this way, to understand, I guess, the missteps that took me off this path, and understand how to come onto this path, stay on this path, and deepen my relationship with that higher self, and to live and operate from this place. And I've been lucky enough to have some incredible teachers, some that I've met and studied with in person, like Goenka, who's an amazing Vipassana teacher, or my yoga teacher, Dr. Madan Bali, who's turning 92 in about a month, or Kam Tai Chow, who's my Thai massage teacher, who's one of the founding teachers in North America for this art, for whom I studied with for almost a decade and helped run his school. And Marianne Williamson, who I have, read her book, Return to Love, incredibly deeply, and resonated with me so much, and I've been lucky enough to meet her as well. And definitely some other teachers. And, I guess in terms of starting this story, I would say that one important thing in my journey is the value of teachers and teaching, and how it wasn't always like that. And when I was younger, starting out on this path, and certainly for a number of years, I was very much of the mind and of the belief that any true teaching is something that I need to figure out for myself. And just like the Buddha, or any of the teachers I just mentioned, they are amazing teachers. They have come to realizations that have brought them to where they are, and that is wonderful for them. And true teaching, something that really informs me, would be something that I can also figure out for myself, for it to be real. Otherwise, it's someone else's teaching that I'm simply adopting. And then I unlearned that truth, and I realized that that's a very lonely place from which to operate, and it's also a wonderful illusion that is a great way to keep me stuck and to keep me from really making any real progress. And I certainly went through lots of depression, went through spinning my wheels and feeling like I'm just going around in circles and coming to the same place and making the same mistakes and having the same things kind of repeat themselves over and over and over again over a course of years. And that frustration built and built and built. And I feel like probably the biggest teacher that I came to learn from, that really unstuck that for me and unstuck that idea, was when I did my first Vipassana course in the Goenka tradition, where I had my whole life changed in 10 days. And one little story about that, I had back pain for a number of years. And then I got into Tai Chi, and I got into a lot of healthy living, and my back pain was pretty much cured, except for one little nagging spot. There was this one little spot on the bottom of my left side of my back that at some point in the day, pretty much every day, I would notice it, and there it would be. Nothing too bad, but enough for me to pay attention to it and say, okay, I still have this one spot, but that's so much better than what it used to be. And then I went on this Vipassana course, and it was both the hardest and the greatest thing that I ever did for my own personal growth and well-being. And over the course of those 10 days, and certainly probably around the fourth day is when you learn the full Vipassana technique. And in that moment and on that day, I saw how that little point was actually radiating throughout my entire body. And I noticed it, and I paid attention to it, because you're meditating, and you're meditating very consciously, and the whole idea is to remain very aware and very attentive and do your best not to have any kind of reaction. So the pain took over, and it was almost debilitating at certain points. But then as I noticed it, it changed. And eventually it receded to the point where it totally went away. And by the end of that course, it was gone. And in my mind, it was definitely physical pain related to a deep mental block that I had been holding on to. And that pain has essentially been gone ever since I first did that course over 15 years ago. And the point being that what that class taught me so well, it's not like I learned something so radical or so different or so new from anything that I'd already been trying. I'd been doing kind of meditation on my own and been into yoga already for a few years and Tai Chi, but there was a system to it. There was a method, and I trusted for those 10 days that I would simply do that method. And what it did for me was take everything that I already knew and crystallized it and turned it into something that was so much more powerful and so much more profound, and it worked, and it worked so well. And I realized in that moment that if I can learn from really amazing teachers something that is so helpful, then I don't need to recreate the wheel. I simply need to be authentic in my own self as I connect to it. And if I can come to it from that place, then I know I'm in good shape. And of course, that doesn't always work that way. You know, sometimes I'm very busy in my head, I'm very distracted, or my ego is really taken over. And even then, that's okay, you know, and I can recognize, especially when I can recognize that that is what's happening, and still learn.